Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. All comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words and actions, and comments shall be limited to the issue and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. All electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the Terrebonne Parish Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order, in which we'll have a invocation and pledge of allegiance by Mr. John Amady.
Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening, Lord, and we ask for your wisdom and guidance as we direct the affairs of the Budget and Finance Committee, Lord. Let us work together so that we can accomplish the common good, Father. And Lord, we ask that all the citizens of this parish would be blessed with your favor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Amady. Ms. Charlie, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Trustclair, Mr. Pledger,
Here.
Mr. Harding, Mr. Voisin, Mr. Amity, Mr. Champagne, Mr. Hamner, Mr. Babin, Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thanks, Ms. Charlie. Item number 1, award bid 24-TEES-43, purchase of new unused T-shirts and caps for team sports to the lowest qualified bidder, Adwear Specialty. Move Mr. John Amady. Second, Mr. Kevin Champagne. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Sorry. Votes 9-0. Motion passes. Item number 2, authorizing the parish president to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government and Vanderbilt Catholic High, and approving the waiver of fees for the use of the Terrebonne Civic Center on May 17, 2025. Move Mr. Danny Babin. Second, Mr. Clyde Hamner. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Item number 3, declaring the CDBG DR Weather Station project as urgent needs. Move Mr. Danny Babin. Second, Mr. John Amady. Ms. Kim Chauvin has light.
Okay, so in the DR money, was that allocated already for that, or are we taking away from something?
Ms. Candace?
No, ma'am, we're not taking anything away. This was part of all of the allocations. All that this is doing, and this was a guidance that OCD had given us after they have approved the application for the weather station. By declaring it immediate needs, it does not have to qualify to be put into a low to moderate income location, because we determined that these weather stations would benefit parish-wide in other locations. So that's all that this is doing, is allowing us to put them throughout the parish and not in specific locations. But it is not taking away or adding anything that has already been done.
Okay, so in the CBD, in the applications that we did, this was a part of the application?
It was an application,
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
just making sure. Secondly, when you're putting money for this, now you need to maintain it. Who's going to be maintaining it? Waterworks or us? Or
Us.
OEP? Okay, so that has to change a whole budget for the following year, correct?
It's not going to be a significant amount to maintain these weather stations.
Do you know how much it's going to take?
I do not know, but I know Earl Hughes was the one that put this together, so I can get that from him and let you know.
Because in maintaining them, it's going to take away from something within the budget. And that's kind of where,
Yes, ma'am.
what I would like to know where it's going to be.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to share for reference, we did a monitoring station, or we were in the process of doing that at Martin's Canal. That whole deal right there is, I think, $25,000-$50,000. When you look at the maintenance of if something would fail, like a gauge or something along those lines, first off, it being new, you expect to get a few years of use before anything really starts to malfunction. But really don't see a whole lot of maintenance in comparison to each weather station. As a whole, you know, however many weather stations we're looking at would seem like a high amount, but at the end of the day, to repair and those kind of things, I don't see that being an issue, at least for a couple of years. So I just hope that clarifies. or
Okay.
helps with
How many do you think we're putting in the parish?
how many we had.
I'm looking. I don't. 13.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Chauvin. Ms. Alden, Mr. Bergeron, Mr. Harding.
Yes, and the explanation of this $200,000 that we're going to be investing into Terrebonne Parish to protect all those citizens, and I know we're coming up on hurricane season. This money has to come up front.
Yes, sir.
Yes, up front. So where's it being transferred from?
Ms. Walden?
So this will be part of our emergency recover funds. So yes, it is a CDBG DR. So we will have to pay for it and do a request for reimbursement. However, they have been really good about reimbursing us within a week's time of submitting the drawdown. So once we have proof of payment, we'll submit it and we'll get it all probably within a couple of weeks.
Yes, and this was a leading question for everything that's dealing with the DR money that we're going to be getting. We have to come up front with the money, and then we have to be reimbursed.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, I mean, we just actually putting it out there, not just for those that would just start dealing with this, but then put it out there to the public that some funding will be used in that manner.
Yes, sir. And you'll also see over the next several weeks, now that the applications have been starting to come in as approved and stuff, we will come back to the council for each of those projects to do the budget amendment to recognize that revenue and that expense. So you'll see all of these again.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Walden, Mr. Harding.
Good.
No further lights. Members, vote your machines. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Item number 4, authorizing the parish president to execute a direct sales contract and end-of-user purchase contract with Axon Enterprise Incorporated for the purchase of Axon body camera system, taser, sidearm signals, the accompanying software, evidence.com, and auto tagging and technical support services for the Homeland Police Department and of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for use in law enforcement only and to address other matters relative thereto. Move Mr. Danny Babin, second Mr. Clyde Hamner. Seeing no lights, members, vote your machines. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Item number 5, authorizing parish president or administration to provide boiler and machinery equipment breakdown insurance coverage through its Department of Risk Management. Move Mr. Clyde Hamner, second Ms. Kim Chauvin. Mr. Steve Trosclair.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just wondering, why are we using our administration instead of designee? Because administration is kind of a broad term for an approval. No question. I mean, no.
Ms. Candace?
I don't believe that there's any reason, and we can, moving forward, say our designee. It probably is just what's been used in the past, but we can
I've
change
never
it to
seen that
our
before. Okay,
designee.
that's fine. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Babin?
Maybe Mr. Page can answer it. He's up there before.
Ms. Page? There it is. Go ahead.
I don't have anything additional to add. There was no particular reason for that. We followed how it was done in the past, so however it needs to be going forward, but administration or its designee is appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Page. Mr. Babin, you got a light there?
Yeah, and I talked to Ryan about this earlier. I talked to Ryan about this earlier. It's in our backup, but a lot of times we put it on here for those people in the audience and those people listening, this is Lede Insurance on this particular one. All right, thank you.
Mr. Harding?
Yes, when I read the backup also, I was actually looked at it, that was something new. And I just thought, you know, man, if I've been reading our designee, why are we coming, our administration seem rather broad. I think something else that we're gonna be dealing with, that we have specifically, those people that are gonna be signing, for signing checks. So, you know, if something wrong, goes wrong, I wanna know who calls, who to call. And that's my, avenue to that. It can be designees, you know, but then those designees, me personally, I would want to know who to call, you know, man, in that instance. It might be on the weekend, and I don't want to call 5 different people to get to one person. So, you know, man, if we can actually know who the designees are, then we can actually, you know, go forward with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Harding. Ms. Candace?
Yes, thank you, sir. I do have a follow-up on that because we do have check signers on later on in the agenda because our comptroller has retired. When it says designee or administration to sign any contract, that is only parish president or the CAO. The check signers that'll be approved tonight, we can only sign checks. So if it says even administration or designee, it will always be parish president or NOAA unless there's some kind of approval we've already come and gotten separate. So just to let that know, even though those check signers are on there, they cannot sign contracts. They can just sign the checks.
Thanks, Ms. Malden.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Harding.
Yeah, and that's the point we're getting to. You know, man, we alluded to other opportunities that we had to work with different people, and that was almost automatic. But then it doesn't seem that, you know, man, I have a good relationship. Me and Noah talk on weekends and stuff like that, or text each other. I have no problem with doing that. I just didn't know. I may have had to call you or someone else, you know. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Harding. No further lights, members, vote your machines. Votes 9-0. Motion passes. Item number 6, authorizing parish president or administration to provide property and casualty insurance through its Department of Risk Management for the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government Homa Fire Department. Move, Miss Kim Chauvin, second, Mr. Danny Babin. Mr. Danny Babin.
Yeah, just as I did on the other one, this is Rudy Larice Insurance. All right, Accusure. No, am I on the wrong one? Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
that's the next one. This one is
I'm
still
sorry.
a day.
I'm sorry, that was
Same as
Liddell also.
expiring.
Okay,
We're good?
yep,
All
thank
right.
you.
Seeing no further lights, members, vote your machines. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Item number 7, authorizing the parish president or administration to provide property insurance, inland marine, and special equipment floater coverage through its Department of Risk Management. Move Mr. Clyde Hamner, second, Ms. Kim Chauvin. Seeing no lights, members, vote your machines. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Item number 8, awarding the request for proposal RFP 24-VEG-42 2025 vegetation maintenance contract for the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government Public Works Department Drainage Division to Kim Spray South Incorporated. Move Mr. John Amity. Second, Mr. Danny Babin. Seeing no lights, members, vote your machines. Okay, let me just, let me call the vote. Members, vote your machines. Ms. Tammy? Well, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry about that, guys. Mr. Carl Harding.
With this, I saw in the backup that they have a provisions for aqua spraying, and it was 130 per unit. So are we actually, and I'm just trying to get some clarification here, do we have to add on the aqua spray, or is it already incorporated? Because I think down these bayous that we actually have, whether it be Gibson, which have actually been where the most complaints are, but other bayous and the opportunity for giving ourselves the opportunity to be ahead of the game, are we actually killing these water lilies also, or do we have to add on to this particular contract per unit?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So that price is like an a la carte price, Councilman Harding. So that's part of the budget for the vegetation contract, and we'll use that as we see fit. That's gonna be kind of more of a pick and choose of where lilies are, I guess, the most prevalent. We don't spray each bayou completely just because it just depends where the lilies are at. But that'll be used kind of on an as needed basis where we need it. But
At 130 per unit.
correct,
Okay.
correct. And there was two prices given. I believe Kemsbury had the better price than Edco for that particular line item too. But Gibson, Bayou Black, those are hot spots. The upper bayous are hot spots. It really doesn't make a lot of sense for us to create a whole route for a bayou to spray lilies. That's why it's on a like kind of as per day basis for that.
Yeah, and that was my concern. I want to go on record for speaking up for the people down Bayou Black, but then also know in conjunction with TITA, they still working on these folks that's coming here, and hopefully that can actually get away from that particular cost. But as it stands, where we are right now, we're spending $1.7 million in reference to this particular.
Vegetation maintenance in ditches for public works, forest drainage, and just to clarify too, that's for us to spend money to spray aquatically, but the main bayous like Bayou Black, Bayou Terrebonne, that's to be sprayed by wildlife and fisheries as well. That's state water bottoms, and they are required to maintain those aquatics. But we can support them when needed, and I believe that we should.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Thanks, Ms. Lerat. Ms. Chauvin.
Okay, so I have two questions. One, are you gonna prioritize, oh, it's not. I don't know. Okay. Are you gonna be prioritizing navigational parts of it? Because there are times that our boats cannot get through on, in the bayou due to lilies, so, I would hope that would definitely be something that we really look at. And the second one is, I thought the lily company was coming in to take these lilies, or are we not at that part, or how far away are we from that?
I'd love like Cohen.
Okay.
Talk about what he knows with them, but
Let me
The
answer the first part.
the navigational.
Okay, so going back to to what I just said about wildlife and fisheries, so navigational waterways are maintained by them. That does not mean we can't help and support that. I think that we should. We've had conversations with wildlife and fisheries at the beginning of the year about targeting those navigational channels sooner and better because their fiscal year ends mid-year. So by the time they kind of get around to us, sometimes their budget is done.
Right.
So we had those preliminary conversations of starting early, like right now, hitting those higher traffic areas and doing a better job with that. On our end, all those little feeder canals that go into Bayou Black, go into Bayou Terrebonne, that's where all those lilies come from. And what we need to do as a parish is, where we have right of ways, is attack those feeder canals because that's where those lilies are coming from in the swamp. So we intend to do that very actively this year to kind of stop them before they get to the channels.
Okay, and maybe I can get the phone number of the guy that you're talking to so that we can be in contact, because that's a big issue that we have in the bayou areas down there with the navigational part of it. Oh, I have no problem calling, not one.
Thanks, Ms. Lerat. You good? And Mr. Cohen, go ahead, sir.
Right. So Project Cynthia is still finished up. They wrapped up their pilot program from 2024 going into 2025. Their main operation is going to be on Bayou Black. So it's going to be from the levee off of Bayou Black to the Intercoastal Canal is where they're going to first attack it. Their future plans are to move remote sites for collection and then have them dried, processed, and everything in Bayou Black. But that's an ongoing and evergreen process over a several-year process. So they're still working with wildlife and fisheries. The parish is they're eager to see them come here and do those things, but they're not up to speed as far as getting all that going. But that is one thing that they're going to look at.
So did they give a timeline of the year, of how many years before they
No, I mean, it's funded by them. So it's, they're working on building the processing plant and everything like that. But that's what they're hopeful to do is have remote sites in the highly vegetative growth areas of the parish.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Thanks, Ms. Chauvin, Cohen. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, just along with Noah had said, we had conversations about that before, about spraying earlier in the year. Because wildlife and fisheries, as we all know, like you just said, their budget ends at that time. So they come along and spraying when it's already in bloom. That's not going to kill the lilies. Okay, that's why we've had such a terrible problem over the years. But if we could start the process much earlier in the infant stages, and like you said, clean out the laterals that are going to it, all of those things, it may not happen. Listen, this freeze that we had is going to help us out this year. Okay, it's killed a lot of lilies, and so if we can get it sprayed earlier, then that 1.6 or 1.7 million dollars is going to go a long way in conjunction with what Wildlife and Fisheries is going to put up as well. So, thank you.
All right, members, vote your machines. Well, we already got that, so. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Item number 9, authorizing parish president to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with Terrebonne Parish District Attorney's Office Drug Court. Moved Mr. Clyde Hamner. Second, Mr. Carl Harding. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Item number 10, updating authorized signers for Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. Moved Mr. Carl Harding. Second, Mr. John Amity. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Item number 11, authorizing parish president to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the 32nd Judicial District Court, Family Preservation Court upon legal approval. Moved Mr. Clyde Hamner. Second, Ms. Kim Chauvin. Ms. Kim Chauvin?
Yeah, one of the things that I look forward to is kind of working with this also, but I would hope that they would go into the prenatal program, actually working with HPD, because I think that they see a lot more and they can, utilize that and where to find young ladies that may need that type of help. So I'm going to try and get into there and have some serious discussions about those types of things and working hand in hand. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ms. Chauvin. Seeing no further lights, members vote your machines. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Item number 12, approving the state contract purchase of 5 trucks for the Drainage Division via state contract 4400023793. Move Mr. Danny Babin, second Mr. Clyde Hamner. Mr. Clayton Voisin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question, on the executive summary portion of the backup, state contract purchase of 5 trucks for the Drainage Division from Terrebonne Motor Company. And then under project summary, same thing, Terrebonne Motor Company. And then when we get to the order sheet instructions, it's Courtesy Ford. Can I get some clarity on this?
Ms. Candace?
I believe, and I can get you a full answer before we ratify the minutes on Wednesday, but I believe it's the way that it's written in the state contract. That's why we're referring to it as Terrebonne Motor Company, but we'll follow up and let you know for sure
As to
what it is, why it's referenced one way and a different way in the backup.
So the Courtesy is the correct vendor?
I believe so.
Okay. It's a little confusing.
Yeah, we'll have to, I believe we'd have to pull the state contract and I can try to see what that is. And it may even be that Terrebonne Motor Company chose to allow us to do it, to give it to us at the state contract price too. That might be why there's a difference, but I'll follow up and give you an answer tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Ms. Malden, Mr. Voisin. Seeing no further lights, members vote your machines. The votes 8-0, motion passes. Item number 13, consider the introduction of an ordinance to amend the 2025 adopted operating budget and 2025 budgeted positions of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Item number 1, FMA flood mitigation, $433,340. Item number 2, LCLE, $75,933. Item number 3, Houma Police Department, $2,982. Item number 4, Houma Downtown Development, $59,832. Item number 5, Houma Downtown Development, $5,000. Item number 6, General Fund, $0. And call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, February 26, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Move Mr. John Amity. Second, Mr. Kevin Champagne. Ms. Kim Chauvin.
Okay. You know what? Help me to understand this because I'm trying to figure out. I see that there's a tax that goes to a Houma Downtown Development that is specifically going to it. In that, and maybe we can have this off, but I'm just kind of wondering, how did they get a tax to go to the Houma Downtown Development when like all of our districts, you know what I'm saying, don't have like specialized things coming to it? And I'm just asking because I don't know.
Mr. Lerat, since yours is first, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, HDDC is funded by the hotel motel tax. And what's
Right.
that? Okay.
I've seen that it was done in that way, but how did Houma Downtown Development get those taxes just specifically for there? Because how many hotel motels do they have in downtown Houma and auto rentals that those specific things would go there? I'm just trying to understand it. Like I don't know.
It's not just based, it's not about geographic location, I don't think, but Candace, can you kind of clarify on that?
Miss Candace.
I don't know that I have the full answer, except that that was how the downtown corporation was set up. But we definitely can get some research in place and to determine why,
I would like to
and if there's some restrictions into what it is. Ms. Ann Piku probably will have all of that readily available.
Okay.
But it's the hotel motel tax and the auto rental tax has always been something that has gone to the downtown development board. But we'll follow up and give you reasons why.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Noah and Candace. Ms. Neal, do you still, okay, Ms. Neal.
I could maybe add a few bits of information to that. And I think it's a parish-wide hotel motel tax. And the tax is split between two entities. One is the HDDC and the other one is the Tourist Commission. Oh, no, is that not right?
This is the state hotel motel.
Oh, well, I thought we were talking about local.
All
I
right.
take it all back.
Good. Thanks, Ms. Neal. Mr. Harding.
Yeah, we're at this point, and several times we've actually come to this point in reference to a number of items coming at this location. Now, Ms. Neal, say for instance, we're in the committee, and we would ratify this to call for a public hearing Wednesday, right? And it is your opinion that we cannot, and most oftentimes it came up during the council meeting to ratify calling for a public hearing. At this time, it is my opinion, or to give me your opinion, that any one of these items we can actually, let's say, take away and create another agenda item. Because going forward, not just picking this opportunity just to see where we are, to go forward, I don't want to say, well, we're going to give rodents $1 million and give all the employees a 1 cent raise, okay? So even though we want the benefits of the employees to get a raise, we want to be able to discuss the fact that we're not going to give rodents $1 million. So if that was in here, we're going to give rodents $1 million, we have to actually kill everything going forward. So can we actually at this time, if we want to separate items here and create a different agenda item, would we do it at this point?
Ms. Neal?
Yes, thank you. So, Mr. Harding, you can This is when the ordinance is being introduced. This is not the public hearing. So this is the point where if there's any changes made, you have to make it. The board, your council would have to make a motion and vote on changes.
Right.
Once you get to the public hearing, that's when you can't make any more changes. Because it was an ordinance that was introduced and it was advertised into the public record and the public hearing was called. And so once you get to the public hearing, changes are no longer, you can't make them anymore unless you make the changes and then re-advertise them all over again and start from the beginning. So at this point, and I guess you would probably have to check with Ms. Malden to see where you would want to make those changes. Because the way that the budget works, I think she's got to be able to verify that the funding is going to go to the proper account and to the proper budget and into the right department. So those are intricacies that she has to check on, but this is where the council would make changes at this time.
Well, say for instance, number 6. If we want to take number 6 and remove it from here and only have 5 items here, and then separate number 6, which is 0, separate number 6 from all the rest and create a different agenda item to actually discuss as a budget adjustment. I'm just trying to be proactive, so because what she's saying, that if we actually change it down the line, we have to create the process all over again. So we can actually, and going forward, we can take care and nip that in the bud at this point that we're going by. I think we've been kind of behind in what we want to do and discussing too long. We had at the other public hearing, we were here to make a change or try to change something in the hearing is the fact that we went on 30, 40 minutes and we can take care of this and nip this in the bud right now, where we won't actually be putting ourselves going forward probably 2 weeks to another month. So I was just throwing that out there. So the rest of my colleagues, we have an idea how to deal with the fact that, how to separate these budget adjustments and pick it out in the committee before you even go to the public. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Harding, Ms. Neal, Ms. Malden.
So I just want to make sure I'm following this so that way we're all understanding. You're talking about not changing any specific budget amendments presented, but maybe pulling out ones that we want to discuss and maybe not pass. So that way the ones that are on there, we can pass them, and the ones that we want to discuss and maybe change later on are separate.
Right.
Okay, so it would just be we would introduce 2 new ordinances at the public hearing. Okay.
And deal with one individual.
Just want to make sure I was following what we were trying to do. Got it.
Thanks, Ms. Malden, Mr. Harding. Seeing no further lights or discussion, members, vote your machines. Votes 9-0, motion passes. Motion adjourned, Ms. Kim Chauvin, second, Mr. John Amity. Seeing no lights, members, vote your machines. Votes 8-0, motion passes. Good evening.
Yeah, I'm just gonna move it over. Just gonna move it over. That way all I gotta do is scooch. Yeah. This is yours.
I was trying to give you more insurance.
Okay. Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. All comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words, and actions and comments shall be limited to the issue and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. Thank you. All electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call to order the Community Development and Planning Committee. I will do the invocation and the pledge. Heavenly Father, we come before you today seeking wisdom, unity, and guidance for the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government and its people. Grant our leaders clarity in their decisions, compassion in their service, and strengthen their commitment to the people they represent. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Pledge allegiance. Ms. Charlie, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Trustclair, Mr. Pledger, Mr. Harding, Mr. Voisin, Mr. Amity, Mr. Champagne, Mr. Hamner, Mr. Babin, Ms. Chauvin.
Here.
Madam Chairwoman, you have a quorum present.
Okay. Number one, a presentation and update by Chief Amanda Thibodeau of Fire District Number 7 regarding Cocodrie Fire Station and their upcoming fire protection classification grading.
Good evening. In front of you, you have either a red or black
Amanda,
folder. Yes.
Can you give your name and address?
Sure,
Thanks.
absolutely. Amanda Thibodeau, 204 Christine Street in Chauvin, Louisiana.
Thank you.
Inside of your folder is a proposal for our fire station number 4, 6868 Highway 56. Purpose of me being here tonight is basically to give you a situation update of what we're having to do. Our fire district has been struggling into maintaining the budget for this particular item. We received insurance proceeds. It's a fight with the FEMA, and then we couldn't go through FEMA because of the certain project we are trying to rebuild to save money as much as possible. We do have 2 fire stations we're trying to rebuild. So this project, we were already over budget because of the cost, the building materials. We did what we could to save money, and we're trying to do what we can. And then we had some state codes that came up during our rebuilding, and to get the permit, we had to fight that. So of course, we're abiding. It is the state law. We have to do what we have to do. But I am here to request if there's any type of funding and grant that the parish can do to assist us, we definitely want to see that happen, because it's very important we have a fire station in this area. Our property insurance is coming. That is a rating that we go through every 4 years. It has been postponed multiple times because of Hurricane Ida and because of Robinson Canal. I have been given a date in April. They are coming whether I like it or not. Okay? So it is very important that I get this station rebuilt as soon as possible. With that, I'm just asking the council to consider that if there's any assistance out there from the parish, that I can get that. We were supposed to receive $207,000 from the Ida recovery program, but unfortunately, that's a reimbursement type of program. And we're not at a reimbursement stage. So I only ask the committee to consider.
Okay. So one of the things I had sent an email in asking about a grant that I had found, and have we found if we made any headway with it?
Yes, ma'am. So the one that you had sent, the LGAP one, that one, the fire district does not qualify for it, because we would have to be, Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government would have to be the grantee. And because we're an entitlement group, we do not qualify for that grant. And we did confirm that with the state.
Okay. Have we looked at any other grant funding that could help along with this?
We are going to look at everything that we can possibly look at to try to get an answer and try to get some kind of help. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I guess we would have to go to the state to find out what they did with the $207,000 if they didn't meet the deadline.
So the $207,000 is the state Ida recovery that Jerome Zering had put in back in 2022, I believe. That money would have been reallocated to another participating political subdivision as part of it. because it is the reason that that program was put together was it was specifically supposed to help with the FEMA match. So the 10% that is the responsibility. Unfortunately, the way some of the law was put in place, it wasn't feasible and we couldn't get all of the funding and the reimbursements done. But we have been working diligently to try to get as much reimbursed to the political subdivisions as possible.
Okay. So I guess my next thing, I guess it would behoove our administration to maybe work within, to figure out how do we work with FEMA and GOSAP when they're pushing deadlines and requirements, but FEMA is so slow, you know? Okay. So,
Yeah, and this is part of the conversation when we're working with our Congress people in DC and giving examples of what we can do to, change the way FEMA works. In the last visiting conversations, it was about the fact, could we get a executive order to shut down risk rating 2.0? With that process, you end up with just as many people that will benefit from the stop that will also hurt other people, right? Because some people did have a discount. So through that conversation, they're talking about doing something that will allow for a tax incentive or a tax rebate related to risk rating 2.0, and also the ability to add more things of what the conversation we've been having, which is making it more of a disaster insurance. And so every time we get an example like this, we're passing it on to our teams and those groups to make sure they understand, like, these are the real issues that we are dealing with and that we need assistance with in a situation where we can't rebuild a fire station. And we had this conversation at the town hall last Monday to use that as an example. And Mike was there, and Mike Vasey's going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it again, just using a real world examples that says we're having trouble building a fire station. That fire station is going to affect the score of that area when it comes to fire rating. And at the end of the day, we're fighting FEMA to do it. So we're definitely screaming at the mountaintops to everybody to listen, to use this as a great example of why it needs to change.
no, I absolutely appreciate that, because I know that those people are going to be down there when their insurance goes up. They'll be the first to holler about it, and I already know what's coming. Mr. Kevin Champagne?
Yeah, I was just wondering, have we reached out to our state delegation for capital outlay? And made a request? Do we know?
I think
That particular item hadn't, one of the things we do before we submit on November 30th is get a list of all the projects that interest everybody. And part of that is just trying to get potential projects from everybody, right? So I don't know at what point this one got brought to their attention, but for capital outlay, and I guess part of this to explain too, a capital outlay is important, is that if we try to put it on capital outlay for this year, it's going to be a priority 5, and it won't be a priority 1 till the following year. So I always look to say, if something can't wait that long, then try to find another funding source. Right. But there's always that opportunity for us to look. Look, we're not going to get, if I remember correctly, I could pull up the list, 20 projects that we're looking at. We didn't get full funding of our number 1 priority one from last year. And then the funding that was given, they ended up overspending and tried to come back and take some of that funding back. So to look at capital outlay, and the issue we've always historically dealt with is having enough money to do even the top 5 projects in that situation, and the balance of that and how quick you need them. So I think it's all part of the conversation. Everybody up here understands, everybody as far as all our different sub organizations and groups understand. And again, trying to find that best funding source, like what's the way to get their issue addressed right now, which, working with Chris and how we maybe helped a couple other organizations where if they could help maybe quote it differently, and we could try to run through that process, but because it's a new build, really didn't have that opportunity. But again, some of that being driven from FEMA's guidelines is what we got to fight. But yeah,
I think, Chief, you should probably reach out to our state delegation and see if there's something they could go into the fiscal, the next fiscal year to ask. Okay. It might be something there.
Okay, Mr. Daniel Babin.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. Chief, I empathize with you on this because I represent Grand Kaya Dulac, by Deloge and by Black, and Grand Kaya is going through very similar circumstances right now since Hurricane Ida. Okay, and actually Wednesday night we have an agenda item for us as a council to allow them to call an election, a special election, to go up on their millage. because of things like this. Because I think Sean, the chief there, has exhausted a lot of other areas, and it unfortunately it's affecting. Ida has affected all of us, and I don't think there's one size that fits all in this. Okay, but I think in the particular case of Grand Kaya, they figured they would go to the people because the people may pay a little bit more in millage, but it would keep their fire rating down. That the numbers matched up best that way. So I'm not saying that's an answer. I'm just saying that happens to be one other fire district that's working towards that same thing. Because they actually had to shut down one fire station in Grand Kaya because of budgetary restraints. So again, I empathize with you. It's not an easy situation. Thank you.
Okay, I had one more question. Could not like I seen that you put the weather stations as an urgent need, would this not be under the urgent need of CBDG or? No? Okay. All right. I'm with you. Listen, no, I'm with you because these are much needed things.
For clarification, when Candace saying no, again, we kind of go back into that timing thing, right? So if it had been a need we understood when we did the plan for CDBGR, yes. But where we are now, again, it's can they wait 2 years to get the funding when it comes to capital outlay versus if they need the funding this year, trying to find a funding source this year to address that need. So with a lot of this, it's, through the process of CBGR and the environmental stuff we got to do and how that's adding 60 to 90 days to that process. What's that shortest path to get the funding they need? No different than this, no different than the stuff with family drug court and everything, right? It's like all these different things that need funding and trying to make sure we use the funding most efficiently and the quickest path for them to be successful,
Okay. Mr. Harding.
Yes. What's your fire rating right now?
We're class 3.
Class 3, not bad. During the time of the hurricane, we had a temporary building over on James Road. What's your biggest problem? Is the structure that you need in the fire station itself? Because, it could be you don't have enough trucks or you don't have water tanks. You need a building where you can actually house a fire truck to actually cut down the distance between whatever.
So let me clarify. We had a fire station there before. In August of 2023 or September of 2023, the code for the state has changed. So my architect was designing a building in accordance to the code that was put before that. And then when they went to go get the permit, the permitting department denied because it didn't meet the code that was under the state. So 2 weeks ago, we found out that we could not build this building exactly how it was designed. And so then what we've already tried to cut and save, we now have additional additional features that we are required. So of course we were trying to do what we needed to do with the funding we had, and we were working on that. And now there's going to be additional costs to do the additional codes. So it's just, we're at a point to where I'm coming to try to build another fire station, and that's through FEMA, and that's a bunch of red tape. So this is us. We didn't know of November of last year that we were going to struggle this much.
So your problem is more funds than structure, you know what I mean? Because really,
Right. Well, the structure, yes. So, I mean, we can build this. And it's just the additional funding would have been, it would have helped even if the hurricane. It's really to give y'all a heads up of what's going on in your parish and the challenges that we're hitting, and we're trying to rebuild. We're trying to do what we need to do. We get lowest bids. We try to stick to what we are supposed to do, and these things like this station having to have a room at elevation +2 and not just the fire station to house fire trucks is ridiculous. I mean, the state needs to know that. You need to know that. We are trying to rebuild, and we're fighting another red tape, another hurdle. So it's really to inform you of what's going on.
yeah, and I would be more in tune to what you're asking for, because if you go into actually to an area that's been hit by hurricane devastation, and you have a reduction in revenue. So if we come back again and with a ad valorem, some type of tax to put on there, that's for a certain amount of years. But if we find the money, we wouldn't actually have to put the extra burden upon people who may not mind doing so. But then we're looking at the long haul to this. I think I can support, and I recommend that we would find. Hopefully, we can find the money to support you instead of actually just going out there and just put another tax on the people.
Right.
So I support you and your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Trosclair?
Yes, thank you. He's saying that your building requirements are elevation +2.
Yes.
Is that a FEMA requirement, or is that something coming from our planning department?
That's a FEMA requirement. I mean, we don't
+2
we don't
part is-
require the +2 is because it's a critical facility, and so that's in the FEMA and state building code regulations.
Okay.
Because I house a fire truck in it, and we're considered essential. The code that was changed in September or August of 2023 now requires some kind of enclosed room or structure that classifies as that elevation. And so then we would build the fire truck storage underneath it. So the same building with a room.
Okay. And I know this is kind of I guess it'd almost be like a slap in the face, but have y'all even looked at bonding to try to move forward with it?
Unfortunately, it probably will be the solution to our next fire station that is going through the FEMA process. And we are struggling with that also because of the change. They're fighting us with wet flood proofing and codes. So it's a fight.
I understand. Well, thanks.
Okay, so my last question is that when the fire station that you have working, that's in working order.
Mhm.
So you don't have one you have one up in Locaya. Is it working?
Yes, I have temporary structure for Station 1 because we were going to save as much money as possible. The temporary structure is, we had to save that money.
So then we have one midway in Chauvin.
We have four stations.
Okay, so how many are working order?
Three.
Three?
It's 2 permanent stations that we did not lose and 1 temporary structure. And we have a 4th temporary structure, but is not the classification as a temporary structure according to the property insurance rate.
Okay, and is
has
it
to have-
past Boudreaux Canal?
Yes,
So you have one past Boudreaux Canal?
yes.
Okay. All right, we're gonna just have to work together and try and figure out what we can
Yes.
get and what we can do. Thank you,
Thank
Chief
you.
Amanda, I appreciate it. Okay, number 2. A motion to rescind the condemnation order adopted on October 24th, 2023 on the residential structure located at 210 St. Paul Street, owned by Latham Homes LLC. Moved by Mr. Harding. Second by Mr. Amadei. Mr. Harding?
Yeah, we've been doing pretty good with condemnations, and then the rescinding something that's been condemned. I just want to put out that going forward, because I've actually went through this process. Each time that we rescind condemnation, even though I have actually put items on here to be rescinded, going forward from here, everything that we have done with the lawyers, all the investigation and stuff like that, has to start all over again. So, and me finding it out through Chris's office, we're actually losing money when we rescind things, but we're giving the residents the benefit of the doubt. So, in going forward, let's be conscious of the fact that the investment we have made through nuisance and abatement actually is nullified, because the process has to be started all over again. So I just want to put that out there. If you want to rescind something, let's do our due diligence to actually make sure that it's for a just cause. I made the motion.
Okay. Seeing no more lights, vote your machines. 9 yeas, motion passes. A motion to rescind the condemnation order adopted on January 28, 2025 on the residential and accessory located at 7166 Park Avenue, owned by Geese LLC. Moved by Mr. Clyde Hamner, seconded by Mr. Harding. Seeing no lights, vote your machine. 9 yeas, motion passes. For resolution obligating the necessary funding under the FEMA-funded Terrebonne Parish, the Hazard Mitigation Grant Programs, HMGP, DR-4611-0005-LA and DR-4611-0038-LA to complete the floor mitigation reconstruction and wind hardening of 125 Diana Court, Gibson, Louisiana 70356, which was destroyed in Hurricane Ida. Moved by Mr. Amadei. Second by Mr. Babin. Seeing no lights, vote your machine. 9 yeas, resolution passes. Number 5, resolution obligating the necessary funding under the FEMA-funded Terrebonne Parish, the Hazard Mitigation Grant Programs, HMGP DR-4611-0005-LA and DR-4611-0038-LA to complete for mitigation, reconstruction, and wind hardening of 110 Telemac Street, Houma, Louisiana 70364, which was destroyed in Hurricane Ida. No, who moved? Moved by Mr. Babin, second by Mr. Amadei. Seeing no lights, vote your machine. 8 yeas, motion passes. Resolution obligating the necessary funding under the FEMA-funded Terrebonne Parish Flood Mitigation Assistance Program, project number FMA-PJ-06-LA 2021-037 to complete the elevation of 605 Westview Drive, Houma, LA 70364. Moved by Mr. Champagne, seconded by Mr. Amadei. Seeing no lights, vote your machine. 8 yeas, motion passes. 7, resolution authorizing the parish president to execute a mental health services agreement between the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, TPCG, and Terry Chatinier. Moved by Mr. Amadei. Second by Mr. Babin. Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking in the backup, and it's, you know, it says on the third whereas, well, I'm sorry, in the second whereas, it's the opinion of the Head Start program that Terry Chatinier has the necessary qualification, experience, and abilities, but we don't have any kind of resume or anything in here that shows that she's what qualifications she has. Anybody answer that?
Mr. Lerat.
Thank you. I have Ms. Vernado here. I'm Director of Housing and Human Service to speak on that.
Kelly Varnado, Director of Housing and Human Services. Mr. Trosclair, I can get that to you, and I can make sure you have that tomorrow.
I certainly appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. Seeing no more lights, vote your machines. 9 yeas. Resolution passes. Administration would like to pull item number 8. No action needs to be taken.
Gotta read it still.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Resolution authorizing the parish president to sign a cooperative endeavor agreement between Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government and the Louisiana Office of Community Development - Disaster Recovery Unit. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Babin. Second by Mr. Amadei. Seeing no lights, vote your machine. We are moving.
Hello, lady. All right. Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. All comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words and actions, and comments shall be limited to the issue and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. Thank you. All electronic devices used for communication should be silent for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the Public Service Committee meeting to order. I'll do an invocation and pledge allegiance. Loving and gracious God, help us keep the common good before us. Strengthen our gifts of wisdom and courage, respect for the views of others. Strengthen us to continue to work with our leaders, seeking an even more just society and acts in harmony and inner independence with all creation. In the name of Jesus, in union with your spirit, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Trustclair, Mr. Pledger, Mr. Harding, Mr. Voisin,
Here.
Mr. Amity, Mr. Champagne, Mr. Hamner, Mr. Babin, Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, ma'am. Order of business, number one, resolution authorizing the parish president to execute an amendment number one to the contract for power line right-of-way clearance and tree trimming between Rocks Lawn Care Stump Out LLC contractor and the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government TPCG to update the contractor's rates for Hurricane Francine recovery work.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Champagne.
Chauvin.
Ms. Chauvin.
You do that to me.
I did it on purpose. Second. Second by Mr. Amity. Seeing no lights. Oh, we got lights. Just a pleasure.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Question, just for clarity. We were already in a contract with, Rock's Lawn Care Stump Out LLC, correct? And we're updating from the last contract that we came into agreement with, or Ms. Candace?
Yes, sir. So we have this in place, and what we have to do is update their emergency hourly rate sheet based on the contract that allows us to update it. And we have to get it approved in order for FEMA to reimburse us for all of that work that was done. So it wasn't a contract, and we're just updating those rates based on the emergency work done.
Okay, did they have a emergency rate sheet prior to
Yes, sir.
Francine? They did?
Mhm.
This is just a update.
Just an
to that.
updated one.
All right,
Mhm.
thanks.
Seeing no further lights. Members, vote your machine. 9 yeas, 0 nays, motion passes. Number two, resolution authorizing the parish president or administration to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Houma Downtown Development Corporation, HDDC, and Hash Grant Association Incorporated, HGA, for the installation of digital LED lighting in the courthouse square and/or on the 32nd JDC courthouse. Moved by Mr. Hamner, second by Ms. Chauvin. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays, motion passes. Number 3, resolution ratifying the appointment of David A. Waits Engineering and Surveying Incorporated to provide professional engineering services for the replacement of existing gas main lines, project known as Highway 311 to Shade Drive Gas Line Improvements, project number 25-GAS-03. Moved by Mr. Babin, second by Mr. Hamner and Mr. Babin.
Yeah, we have Mr. David Waits here from the engineering company. David, could you come up just a second, just so we kind of want to give everybody an update on where we're going. What happened is in Hurricane Ida, we had problems with gas because of generators. The snowstorm, we had problems with gas because of on-demand hot water heaters, okay? And a lot of it affects the end of Clyde's area and then down into Shea, Plantation Gardens, Terrebonne, all those areas. What this is going to do, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Waits, this is a 4-inch line that's going to replace a 2-inch existing line.
That is correct. And it's basically going to help try to loop the system from 311 back toward Shea Drive, which ties into Hollywood Road Extension. That's what we're trying to enhance the system all the way around. This has been going on for a long time as far as the system's not designed to run all these generators that we're doing. And now, like you said, with all the on-demand hot water heaters coming on, it's putting a tremendous burden on the system, which has mostly small lines throughout the parish. 2-inch, 4 inches is the biggest we have throughout the system. So along with that, we're also looking at some regulator station upgrades, and the lines give the volume, but the pressure comes from the regulator stations.
That's what I was going to get to. I just want people to realize we're increasing the volume with the 4-inch line. All of the subdivisions and all the feeder lines are going to maintain that 2 inches.
That's
all
correct.
Right? But if we can ever get the agreement signed with InLink on the station, that where they can increase the pressure, we not only increase volume, we increase pressure.
Correct.
Because in some of the meetings I've been in here over the last 2 or 3 weeks, it was brought to me, and I don't know how exactly accurate these numbers are, but a 22 kW generator and smaller takes about 125,000 BTUs to crank it off. An on-demand hot water heater, some of them take 199,000 BTUs to get them cranked off. So that's why we had problems in this snowstorm. It wasn't with generators.
Generators weren't running.
What generators weren't running. It was on-demand hot water heaters, and it goes back to what someone, I think Mr. Terrebonne with Generac came speak to us at one point, that if we as a parish don't know that some of these things are in there because people may have done it without permits, okay? How can we plan for the future? These things are going to help us now.
A lot of this area is a lot of dead ends, and it was starving for gas through Ida as well as through
Right.
the cold period. I think this is going to help it, but again, it also goes hand in hand with the regulator station upgrades.
Right. And again, just to keep the people informed on this should all be started. Your process. You've already done the preliminary studies on it. You're working on the finalization of it right now, correct?
Correct.
So hopefully we will have this out to bid and under construction before the summer.
Oh, I would think so. It shouldn't take long to do this.
That's what I thought. And then it's only about maybe a 5-week job after that. I guess
As long as the contractor can get his
Correct.
materials and get
Right.
in there.
I guess what I'm trying to say to the people that are listening, this government, this administration, and this council is working to get this done before a hurricane season, if at all possible.
That's the plan.
And that's what we're shooting for. So again, thank you, David. This is a much needed project for that entire area. Because like you said, it's on the end of the line. We had problems with water in Gibson and Chauvin and Berg and Bide the Lodge and Grand Kaya. But we had real problems with gas in this particular area. They had water, they just had no way of heating their homes. And it was quite tough, especially in areas like Plantation Gardens, which is an older subdivision that the majority of it was gas heaters, gas stoves, and they couldn't even get any heat into the home. So again, thank you very much. I just kind of wanted to educate the public on this, that this is a priority. The money's there. We're waiting on, we're gonna increase the volume, but we're also waiting on increasing the pressure, which will service the area that much more for years to come.
That's correct.
So, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Bab, and thank you, Mr. Waits. Members, vote your machines. Nine yeas, 0 nays, motion passes. Number 4, resolution ratifying the appointment of the firm of Myers Engineers LTD to provide professional services for the Tower Parking Garage demolition parking project and authorizing the execution of an agreement for these services.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Babin, second by Mr. Champagne. Mr. Trosclair?
Yeah, quick question. I see we demoing the parking garage, which probably needs to be done a long time ago. Oh, do we have anything in plans in motion of resurfacing to making a parking lot at this time?
I'd like to look at, and actually the conversation we're having is to get it rebuilt. Mostly because of the fact of the protection it provides during hurricanes, and that's the conversation that we're having. We had some equipment that was damaged with Francine because we didn't have the garage available to put stuff in. So whatever level that we can do and for our find funding to do that, I think it's important that we do that sooner rather than later, but that would be the goal.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the parking garage is great, but I mean.
And even the conversation of, is there a possibility to keep the drive-through? I mean, that's all the stuff we're going to look at, that we're going to engage the engineer for, because I know a lot of our residents like to drive through and don't, have to come in a building. I know we were relocating that stuff to the first floor instead of the fourth floor. I don't know if we finalized that yet, but we'd have to do everything we can to make sure our residents have access to and information too, because you can go to banks, there's a lot of different places to pay your utility bills, and just make sure they have all that.
So you plan to try to demo it and possibly still maintain the drive-through?
If we can,
Once it's
yes,
done.
sir. Yeah, as much as we
Good.
can.
Thank you.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, as I remember, we hired Myers a while back to determine whether it needed to be, I think somebody's here from Myers tonight, to decide if the building needed to be demolished. What we're doing tonight is giving them the authorization to come up with the plan how to demolish this. And I knew you came in.
Hi,
from
I'm
your
Alton Davis. I'm the Director of Architecture for Meyer Engineers. And as Mr. Babin pointed out, we had done a report, an investigation of the existing, and we determined that the money that you would spend to repair it probably was not well spent. It would be better served to be demolished, given the severe nature of the deterioration. I don't know, given our original report, will it be possible to save the drive-through? It takes a little more investigation to come up with that, but that's certainly something that we can look into when we get into the teeth of it a little bit more. But yeah, we're, I think also Ms. Bray and I worked together to set up a capital outlay request last year for a new thing. So they're working towards a new parking garage. So.
Good. Thank you. All right, that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Harding?
Yes, and all of that goes along with what we've been discussing. I mean, we're looking at we're sheltering our employees, like Mr. Bergeron said, that a lot of our people, they have to come in our building. It's a security problem. They have to go to the fourth floor. So the sooner we can do this, it would be better not only for us, but for the citizens also. So thank y'all for actually taking care of this problem, that creating a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Seeing no further lights, members vote your machines. Nine yeas, 0 nays, motion passes. Number 5, resolution authorizing the execution of change order number 1 for the construction agreement for parish project number 23-BRG-10, East Woodlawn Road Bridge Replacement, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Moved by Mr. Pledger, seconded by Mr. Babin. Ms. Chauvin.
So I have a question about this one. I see what they say we owe them for, but wouldn't that have had to been in the, I guess, the bid? Because I'm looking at this and we always have change orders all the time and I can understand some of them, but this was a small little bridge and shouldn't it have been in their proposal? It's not back one. Hit yours? That's one.
Okay, thank you. A lot of times, especially with these smaller projects, as they get into the actual build and the construction of it, there are some things that weren't noticed through the design and through the bid process. So that's why this change order, we always have a very last final change order, balancing order for most of our projects in order to be able to fulfill that substantial completion.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further lights, vote your machines. Nine zero, motion passes. 6, resolution providing the acceptance of work performed by Gray Construction Corporation in accordance with the certificate of substantial completion for parish project number 23-BRG-10, East Woodlawn Bridge, Road Bridge Replacement, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Moved by Ms. Chauvin, seconded by Mr. Pleasure. Seeing no further lights, members vote your machines. Motion passes 9-0. 7, resolution authorizing the execution of change order number 3 for the construction agreement for parish project number 21-PARK-66, Bayou Country Sports Park Boys Concessions, Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Moved by Mr. Hamner, seconded by Mr. Babin. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. 9-0, motion passes. 8, resolution, a resolution to support, in support of the parish president and his executive staff's continued administration of the co-sponsorship program. Seeing no lights. Oh, motion. Moved by Mr. Amity. Seconded by Mr. Champagne. Seeing no lights, members vote your machines. Mr. Harding, sorry.
Ms. Candace, how many co-sponsorships we had last year? You don't know? You know how much is in that's in it now? I think it says something like 28,000. Is that for the year or that's what we have there now? For the year. For the year? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Members vote your machines. I don't have a vote. Nine zero, motion passes. 9, a motion to rescind the condemnation order adopted on April 23rd, 2024 on the residential structure located at 246 Dana Land Street, owned by Procom Construction Group LLC and Quentin Joseph Westbrook. Moved by Mr. Amity, second by Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to give a brief explanation. This original contractor started building this structure and then had some health problems and other such things. He lives in Florida now. And we worked to get this sold, and we have a new, we have a buyer for the new home that is locally, that does this, a new contractor here. And so with that, like Mr. Harding was saying earlier, you got to be conscious of what you're doing. I just couldn't see tearing down a new house when we need housing. It wasn't that it was dilapidated or anything. It was just not finished. So they're just waiting on these liens to be released to do the closing. I spoke with Craig Landry's office and the seller and the buyer, and we can get this thing done. So that's why I put it on to rescind the motion. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Amity. Seeing no further lights, members vote your machines. 9-0, motion passes. 10, pursuant to LARS 4216-4217 and Terrebonne Parish Code Section 2187D2, the Terrebonne Parish Council may, upon two-thirds affirmative vote, convene into executive session to discuss the complaint made by members of the Terrebonne Parish Recreation District 3A regarding a current board member. Motion to go into executive session by Mr. Harding, seconded by Mr. Hamner. We will vote our machines. Oh, Ms. Neal, sorry.
Yes, sir, just for the record, it's going to be the council members and parish president in the executive session.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members, vote your machines. Thank you very much. Members, vote your machines. Nine zero, motion passes.
How you been?
Second.
Motion to reconvene by Mr. Trosclair, seconded by Ms. Chauvin. Vote your machines. 9-0, motion passes. 11, possible council action following the executive session regarding the complaint against the current board member, including but not limited to the council's authority to remove him or her as a member of the Terrebonne Parish Recreation District 3A. Seeing no lights, hearing no motions. Move to adjourn by Mr. Hamner, seconded by Mr. Trosclair. Members, vote your machines.